the biggest impact of internet in India, or what we are reviewing as 30 years of internet in India, this is the era when from 95 to 2005, mostly from 2000 to Y2K, after Y2K and 2005, and after 9/11, the India's impact on global service provisioning, software service provisioning, India was like booming. So India was really becoming a IT destination for taking people to develop their software.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of the podcast presented to you by Museum of Digital Society in collaboration with Digital Empowerment Foundation called EDGE. In this episode, we're back with Mr. Osama Manzar to discuss the era between 2005 to 2010. In the last two episodes, we discussed how digital developed, how it came to India, how the focus shifted from it being purely based on software and hardware, being used by the corporations, to government, to it becoming a tool for the masses. And in this part particularly, I would like to highlight the fact that from 2005 to 2010, India and the world saw the social media boom. Facebook came to India, Orkut was already there, Facebook took over the Orkut market, Twitter was launched between this time as well. So I would just like to understand and highlight the fact that this was the development era where people started really taking owners of the internet. So welcome, Osama. Let's, I think, start with the fact that in this space in between 2005 and 10, in the last episode, you had mentioned that the governments were really interested in using digital as a tool of development. And therefore, DF was also born because you started realizing that digital is a very, very powerful tool for poverty alleviation. And you had mentioned last time that you were still in this space of knowledge consumption where you were understanding the digital landscape. So between 2005 and 2010, the first thing that really stands out is that e-governance got highlighted by the government very, very powerfully. You had already mentioned the projects that they were running when you traveled across the country. But can you talk to us a little bit about the e-governance bill that was introduced in 2005?
So 2005 has two major significance as far as development of information society is concerned. I would first like to highlight that what was started in 2003 by United Nations called World Summit on Information Society got culminated in its second version, which was in 2005. And it happened in Tunis. So Kofi Annan actually said that let's take a WSIS review of creating information society. And that is when we released this book called E-Content Voices from the Ground 2.0, me and Peter. And we released the book in Tunis. And that was interesting because in the first episode in 2003, we took about 28 to 30 countries review of e-content situation. This one we again did another 30 countries, So we really could ask our grand jurors of the World Summit Award and find out. We went to Tunis. Geneva is on the top of the hierarchy of digital development. Tunis is on almost like a bottom of the hierarchy of the digital development on information society. It was also good to see the one of the most beautiful countries, Tunis, which is a traditional and, North African, but actually also Middle East, but also very close to Europe. So it has also got a French influence, and all that was learning. Back from there, India was exactly, started reacting very strongly on what was happening is that the software was booming. The biggest impact of internet in India, or what we are reviewing as 30 years of internet in India, this is the era when from 95 to 2005, mostly from 2000 to Y2K, after Y2K and 2005, and after 9/11, the India's impact on global service provisioning, software service provisioning, India was like booming. So India was really becoming a IT destination for taking people to develop their software. And that is how NASSCOM also was becoming very strong. And then NASSCOM also by that time had already started the NASSCOM Foundation, which was also interesting, that how software company, the IT industry was mostly led by software company and less by hardware, by the way. India is still, even till today, is not a hardware manufacturing country. We are a software manufacturing country. We are the people who develop software for the whole world. So it was moving. And then, when you talked about e-governance bill and all that, actually government tried to figure out that where were we when the software is booming and all the private sector is booming and all the internet is booming, hum kahan reh gaye, So that is when they, the Ministry of IT and Telecom started strengthening, and that is why the e-governance came and all that. But the whole picture of e-governance from the government perspective was that how do we bring, the software applications, the web applications, to not only digitize their own processes, but also digitize their responsibility to serve the people. Like Ministry of IT, Ministry of, let's say, Rural Development, Panchayati Raj, everybody, Ministry of Health, how do they adopt, digital to serve the people was happening. But I would say that their reaction and very positive way of doing reaction was that how to make their own bureaucratic and their own processes digitized. And as I told last time also, we are still going on, and even till today I would say, is that digitization has never been able to integrate in our ministries or in our governance thought process. I would say that, and I'm highlighting this as a phenomena of as late as mid 2000, is that we still think analog while implementing digital. Although the intention of government is very very good in terms of how do we adopt technology and digital to serve the people, but in that aspiration to serve the people, somehow being educated, bureaucracy is educated, comparatively to the people who are on the ground. So they get carried away by the technology. And then they become is that if this is a new technology, then this should be adopted. If this is the new technology, this should be adopted. And that really doesn't really solve the people's problem. And that is the reason why DF's growth even later than mid 2005 or 6 was emerging with a lot of knowledge that we were gathering through our award. Like I told you last time, Manthan Award by 2006-7 had started going South Asia and Asia Pacific to get the nomination. So our journey of accumulating knowledge of best practices was just not India, just not the states of the country, but also we started going to Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and Maldives, and Bhutan, and all that. And I must say that Sri Lanka was a very strong emerging country at that time, who were adopting technology very well. And one of their biggest program was Nainasala, was equivalent to what CSC would go, and I'm sure you're going to ask that and how we will talk about CSC. So I'm saying that at this point also, while government is emerging as a very strong player to take digital to the masses, corporates were still leading because of the software provisioning or software services and all that. And I must also mention that there used to be something called India Internet World as a big event. Comdex was a big event. where all these software company, internet company, and new companies used to come and be together as an annual event organized by NASSCOM, and many others, at that time, what used to be like micro lands of the world, Infosys of the world, HCLs of the world, or Wipros of the world, and all that were leading, of course, the phenomena of the thing. But I must also say that since Digital Empowerment Foundation was a community-based digital organization, we could easily see that when it comes to these big events, the voices of the poor and voices of the grassroots were still very meager and very low key, and mostly relevant to the ministry which relates to the development sector or the developing society.
So I want to take a pause here and actually just reflect on something that you mentioned. You said that the government at that time was really fighting to bring in this technology because it looked nice, and this is a human effect where we see something nice and we attribute it to being good and perfect and something that we can use. But in terms of the utilization of that technology that was coming to India, did you think that it was inclusive at that time? Because when the internet was coming, and this is also the era when Google was kind of expanding and creating content in different languages, was it inclusive in terms of understanding the diversity of Indian cultures? Was it inclusive in terms of bringing this digital literacy to older people, for example? Because I have an aging mother who struggles with technology every day, even today. Was it inclusive in terms of, if you're putting all of e-governance or the kind of access that you have to services through internet, where you're kind of teaching that to community members who avail those services? Because the urban-rural divide at that time was being strengthened by the fact that internet was coming to urban sectors much more rapidly than it was to the rural sector.
No, I would say that I don't remember even a single phenomena where we were still talking about a mass scale policy to take digital to the grassroots or something, except 2-3 good examples. For example, I remember in Kuppam, and Kuppam for a while had become a mecca of technology as far as the relating to the poor people is concerned. And by the way, Kuppam is Karnataka. So as I said, most of these kind of innovation were happening in South.
Yeah.
So I remember HP had invested a lot of money to create Kuppam is a very small village. It's a rocky village, about 1 or 2 hours or less than 2 hours from Bangalore on the way to Chennai. They had applied that how to use technology for soil testing, how to use technology for village level education or schools, how to use technology for health services, how to use technology for agriculture, how to use technology for government related services, and so on and so forth. So that's the reason why many people used to go there. I still have many photographs of that place when I was studying, how people are working on the grassroots. Kuppam was the place that I had visited at that time, or even before that. But there was nothing like schemes like connecting every village. There was nothing like every village one computer or something. There used to, at that time, there used to be a phenomena that had started worldwide. One computer, one child, one laptop per child, or something like that. That has started by Nicolas Negroponte, and it became very, very popular. Is that at that time even laptops had not become yet popular, and if you think about taking computers to the rural, you always think, who will run it? How will you run it? Do you have electricity? Do you have do you have energy? So there were so many negative questions to that one, barrier questions to taking computer to the villages, than thinking of something. So at this point of time, I don't remember, but I think think we were still struggling how to take computers to the block level or the district level. And when I say that, that means that level of offices of the government.
Got it.
I don't remember even in 2005 we were thinking of going to the panchayat level.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think naturally then it would make sense for me to then come to the fact that in 2007, the government launched the Common Service Center and the CSC framework came about. And there was a shift from this focus on selling software or selling the idea of you coming online through websites, or I don't even know if apps existed back then, but the CSC came about, which was actual physical infrastructure. And they wanted to build these centers and have this hub in, spaces. So how do you see the CSC then changing the digital landscape? Did you think at that time that this would be the key to inclusivity?
So I remember CSC phenomena very, very well as of it was yesterday, because Digital Empowerment Foundation was involved in developing the framework. And also we were assigned to develop the classification and definition of each and every services that can be delivered to the people in the village level.
Okay.
So I remember that Syed was still, he was developing those entire framework. But I would like to elaborate on this more. So it was all because Chandrasekhar was there, who was the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of IT, and I think he came up with this idea that we need to take technology to the people and the masses and all that. And because of that, this entire Common Service Center, and as you can see, there is no digital world or internet world in Common Service Center.
Yeah.
So it is very well designed to serve the people. What is serve with what? Common services. All the common services. How do you get your schemes? How do you get your health checkup? So every anything that you have to relate as a citizen to the government, this kiosk or a center should be done. But the point is, the whole thing is that government was ready to invest, but how will you sustain? Then they hired ILFS to come as a nodal agency, and then they started partnering with organizations like ours and all that to develop various kind of things. There were several meetings that used to happen. Once the framework happened and the ILFS announced that we are looking for people who can establish so many common service center per state. And we thought that DF should also apply, but they said that you have to invest so much, you have to do this. So it was a completely corporatized kind of thing, although many NGOs also applied. But and you will be surprised to know, I don't think today even a single company who had started CSC is survived. Not even a single one. All of them are dead because it was not making business sense. They couldn't sustain it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I can. It's criticism to our also, because we were part of the framework and all that. But it also says that DEF itself did not implement CSC after the CSC started getting implemented, because in the system that it adopted is that the village level entrepreneur has to invest so much of money, for which they will be given all the equipments, and then the training and a special username and password to connect to a portal which will allow them to link to all the government services, right? But our government services were not ready to be available online.
They also had to digitize the process.
It was by then, and it was working as a hyperlocal. That means if I am in one of the villages in Bihar, that means all the Bihar government related services related to the delivery or to link to the citizens have to be online enabled, and it was not. The second problem, it is a village level entrepreneur, it's a village level establishment. The connectivity itself is not available at that level, which is easily available. We were still struggling with ADSL and the first phase of broadband and everything and all that. So it was either pre, or I will say we were already late by that. And now I'm talking about 2007. That means we are talking about 12 years after internet came to India. 12 years is a long time, By that time, we should be ready with all the digital interlinking infrastructure, but we were not. And therefore, CSC actually took almost 10 years to be figured out that whether it's sustainable or not. Today, government, now it is all totally completely run by a single government-owned company, CSC, and state level is only involved in terms of linking to the services. But even today, they say that more than 300,000 CSCs are there, but I don't think more than 25 to 50,000 are completely active. Rest of them are partially active or occasionally active or periodically active, but not daily active. And so that is one thing that I wanted to talk. I also wanted to talk one interesting aspect of this era is that, we were now almost entering into a revolutionary fourth screen, right? The mobile screen. By this time, mobile had already expanded to half of its size of a screen or almost full size of its screen, right? The pod started becoming iPhone and all that, right? So, and I remember I bought my first smartphone, which was Palm, with an antenna on the corner of it and half with a Quadri keyboard from Hong Kong when I was there in 2004-05. And I was one of the rarest who had bought that kind of phone. And I remember that phone at that time had costed 35,000 rupees.
Wow.
Yeah, 35, yes, or 25 or 35, I think. Costed me, and their service was so good that I remember that phone came to me. I brought it from there and I started using it. At some point of time, the screen broke or it fell down or something, and I told them this has happened. They replaced the whole phone.
They give you a new phone?
New phone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but I want to highlight that the world, especially Indian consumer and citizens, are entering into the phenomena of handheld, full functional screen. And I think the touch also started by then, I think.
The iPhone came in 2007, but the touch came a little later.
Touch was not there in the first iPhone? Okay, so anyway, but in the fourth screen, in a full-fledged way, we had moved. And we had started, but Palm was touch, by the way.
Oh, it was QWERTY and touch.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, Palm screen was touch. So that's what I'm saying. Touch had already started coming. Okay. So touch had started being introduced. Quadri keyboard started coming. Screen had started coming. We had started experiencing live videos on small screens, which is the fourth screen, which is the handheld screen. And I'm saying that the revolution had already started. And one more thing here, like you said and reminded me that social media had already started coming through Facebook. And I don't remember that I was a member of Facebook or I had a Facebook account at that time. I think I became, I will have to look at my Facebook account when I started, but it was much later than Facebook. But what I could relate now is that is that Facebook and social media and mobile and mobility and people's aspiration and desire of being individual content creator, content consumer, and interactor was becoming a big thing. And I would say that while the fourth screen fed social media fed mobile. And they both together fed the dopamine of the humanity. And started feeding the dopamine of humanity. But do I also narrate a little bit of story of digital empowerment foundations going on the ground? That will be...
So one question that I want you to kind of answer on Facebook is the fact that when people started using Facebook at that time when Mark Zuckerberg had created it, he had a very this very emotional story where he started talking to people about how he was a loner in college. He felt isolated, and he just wanted to have a common link with his peers because that seemed to be missing in the physical world. And he realized that he had more freedom when he was online. And you had mentioned already that by this time we had chat boxes and different messenger applications available where people could chat. And he found it more open to be himself in areas like that, and therefore launched Facebook so friendships could be more organic. And seeing like 20 years later now what Facebook does and Meta becoming a conglomerate, at that time when Facebook was launched, did you see the merit in an application like this? And Facebook was launched as a web browser, right? Like everybody was browsing it on their laptop, and then came the iPhone and started using it on their phone. But did you see the merit in it being a connecting app at the end of the day? Because that was the genesis story of Facebook.
Yeah, so when I also logged in first time, and if you see the original story of social media itself, and or microblogging or whatever, you can easily see that this is a tool which allows people who are silent,
Yeah.
and who are not vocal, who are not outgoing, who are not getting their space, who are not getting their own line of friends, or among the friends I am a slightly back and my other friends are taking lead to become more friends with each other, and I am a loner and I am a backbencher and things like that. So if you really see, social media created a virtual way of exercising everything that was there in you and waiting to be exploded.
Yes.
Right? And that's the reason why I think social media became so loud and so much, because it was the voice of the voiceless.
Exactly.
And voiceless doesn't mean that you don't have an opportunity, just that you are a self-driven, censored person. You are either what you call as not proactive, or you are passive, or you are a silent, or you want your own space and time and all that to come out and speak. Like in any mahfil or any place, not everybody speaks. Only 2-3 people speak much more than anybody. That doesn't mean they don't think. That doesn't mean they don't know how to speak. That doesn't mean that they don't want to. That doesn't mean that they don't have content. That doesn't mean that they don't have desire. Nothing. It is just that they are not I won't say shameless enough, but they are not so proactive enough to come and say anything. And that's the reason why gradually also social media started becoming a vomit of all the people who do not know how to speak good language. Because nobody wants to hear the people who speak bad language, or they don't have the decorum of speaking the good language.
Yes.
We always knew how to consume information which was filtered, which was articulated, which was authenticated, which was peer reviewed, which was something like that, right? Press is like that, research is like that, books are like that, TV is like that, everything is like that. Even on the web, what is get published is a filter.
Yeah.
But social media actually gave chance to the people that there is nobody to look at, and unfiltered. And unfiltered is always not very pleasing, and not very good. And then social media started monetizing not so good. And that is when the problem starts.
Yeah. I think the reason why I wanted you to highlight this is because your organization at that time was advocating for the rights of grassroots communities, and your logo in fact says connecting people at the edge of information. And one of the things that you keep saying is that you connect the unconnected. DF is that's the area where they work. And in a way that Facebook was also doing that. They were connecting people who were at the edge of information because they did not have access to circles where they could be unfiltered. So when globally this kind of advancement was happening, where social media had come in, where people were now transitioning from just consumers to creators, where they were sharing their voices, the people that you work with were still voiceless because they did not have access to the first basic access point for the internet, let alone Facebook. So how did that journey get bridged for you at that time? Like, how do you center DF's work while all of this was happening in the global economy?
So I'm really glad that we did not get carried away, and I want to differentiate. Like, for example, let's say Facebook, or let's say Google, or let's say any of these people who are actually not connecting the unconnected. They are giving voice to the connected.
Yeah.
Who is voiceless, or maybe not so voiceless, but do not get a platform to speak. So there is a difference. We were actually connecting the unconnected, because it's like, there is a difference between a car or a vehicle or a public transport system which is going on the road with the person who is making the road. You can always say that when the car came on the road and the road stopped, and because there's so many cars coming, suddenly people started building the road and then the car could go. That's what Facebook. And that's what in Google or whatever, all the content and service providers. But we were actually saying that people who are at the grassroots level, we are developing so much of content for them, we are developing services for them, but we are not making roads to them on which the services will go, or the content will go, or for that matter, the content that you want to buy from them, the voice from that you want to listen from them. You are not giving the medium to them. So internet is a medium, internet for me was a medium. Connectivity is a medium, Meaningful or not meaningful content or not so desirable content is a second thing. But when you work consistently on access, and the devices around access, or the language around access, or the capacity around access, then you feel that you are actually not working in a judgmental area. So for example, we build connectivity, we gave them computer, but we are not saying that this is what you should read, or this is what you should message, this is what you should consume, this is what you should do. I mean, we can say do's and don'ts about basics, but that doesn't mean that you can control. You're not limiting. And I remember in 2007, that was the year when we got our first grant, and that first grant came from Intel Foundation to set up a CSC-like center, Common Service Center-like system. We created a new framework that how the system should work and how should grassroots work. So it should have connectivity, it should have devices, it should have a person with all those devices available to the people who come and access these devices without telling them how to and when to, and give them an open, liberal chance to learn themselves and access themselves.
Wow.
Right. So that was Community Information Resource Center for us. And it was more designed on the success and failures of CSC, and also the success and failure of Telecenter, which I forgot to talk about. Telecenter was a phenomena which was started globally for the same reason as WSIS of Geneva, or the UN's WSIS gave a call to how to create an information society. So access and device to the inaccessible places was one of the largest movement under ICT for development, and that was Telecenter. And telecenter.org it used to be called, and that taught us that what kind of ecosystem that we should create. And there is a lot of failure, and there is a lot of learning in that also. But I'm proud to say that the first two, Intel gave us center to establish only one, but in the same money we established 3 centers. So this is our habit over a period of time. People tell us to digitally literate 100, we will do 500. They will tell 1,000, we will do 5,000 in some way or the other. But we established 3 centers. First 2 centers were one in Ranchi, in Bedo, in Thakurgaon, it was absolutely tribal and downtrodden area. And the second we established in Mamoni, in Baran districts in Rajasthan. Again, all the people who were accessing that entire ecosystem were the bonded labor's children and bonded laborers themselves. They were out of bonded labor, but they were all of them tribals.
Okay.
All of them from tribal communities.
What kind of services were they accessing at the center?
Mostly education.
Okay.
To be very frank, we tried everything, but what was working was education. And I must say the learning was that as soon as you take a computer and connectivity to a village level, there is a very very strong, happy yes by the community.
Yeah.
And if you have the community take care of that, and that gave us a lot of strength to take 1 center to 2 center and 3, and now we have 2,400. That how if you find the ownership from the community, you learn a lot that how that can get adopted for various things that you don't have to tell them. They themselves will tell. I remember 3 incidents. One incident, I went to one of the centers, and in one computer and one keyboard, 4 girls were working.
Yeah.
So one was putting one key here, the other was putting key here, the third was showing on the screen, the fourth was on mouse. Right? So it was like a jugalbandi of friendship and 4 different level of mind, and also knowing ye daba, press this key and all that. And I saw that one of the person who was clicking some key and YouTube or something like that opened. And I said, how did you learn? How did you open so fast? She said that I learned from my other friend that if she puts these 4 letters, this opens. So she doesn't know the keyboard yet.
But she
has figured out from the caricature of the keys that these are the 4 letters to open Amitabh Bachchan's page or Wikipedia or whatever, or some Yahoo page or whatever. So they were visually learning. That was a lesson to us.
Yes.
That we had put in some lesson book like Microsoft or something. They were not touching that. They were saying how to open hardware, then how to open keyboard, then how to click this. They were not interested. They wanted direct jump into the well and then start learning how to swim.
Hands-on experience.
Yeah, hands-on experience. That was very, very beautiful for us to learn. The second thing I learned is that even if you put computer which is all in English, for them to understand through that language what they want is not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, so language, I realized that language was not too much of a barrier for them to access the information. What was restrictive was that there was not much content in their language or what they would. So they would usually end up watching videos or films or something, and they used that as a medium of learning.
Yeah.
To learn.
Yeah.
So the visual learning. So I realized that, and that's the reason why mobile, audio visual, audio visualization, camera, and all this has a great role to play in the fast adoption of digital into the grassroots level. The more oral it started becoming, the more adaptable it started becoming to the grassroots community.
Thank you. That's really lovely to hear. I think one thing that I would like to ask you here is the fact that, in the last episode you mentioned that Manthan Award had come in. And in this one you said that you had released eContent 2.0, where you were able to take the ideas of different, 30 extra additional countries and bring their digital knowledge back. But when you were working on the ground with grassroots communities and communities like this, where digital was so inaccessible that their vigor, their ideation and the curiosity was so high, how did you bridge that gap? I know that this is also the year where the first Internet Governance Forum came to India, and DEF was a part of that governance forum too. But how did you bring your global advocacy work, your national advocacy work, your work with the government, your work with different partners that were mostly, Western? How did you bridge that gap when you were working with the communities?
So I have 3 stories for you, because Before I forget, I will also narrate the story of Chanderi project that we started in 2009-10. I would so IGF. Let's come to IGF. It's very interesting that 2003 World Summit on Information Society happened. 2005 World Summit on Information Society 2 happened, and then WSIS was closed. And at that time, UN decided to take it forward. We should establish one forum called Internet Governance Forum. And that will happen every year, and every year it will go from one country to the other, and the country will host it.
Okay.
And that is where we will discuss all the goods, bads, and evils and ugly of digital world or internet world, right? From governance to the people, to the government, to the corporate, to the cyber security, everything, privacy and all that. So IGF in 2009 happened in Hyderabad. This also shows that why Hyderabad and why not Delhi? Because, like I said, South was always attractive. South was always far ahead in terms of digital deployment. It should have happened in Bangalore at that time, but I think Hyderabad has a better infrastructure, or maybe local government must have agreed. Chandrababu Naidu, I think at that time was there, maybe. And the new city in Hyderabad had already started, called Cyberabad and all those things, high-tech city, and they hosted. But the story is that for DEF, we were introduced to an organization called APC at that time, Association for Progressive Communication. They were involved in building the internet since beginning, from BBS era time. So they were. So we became member of APC gradually, and then we got suddenly connected to the all over the world in terms of all the people who are working on internet, activists on internet, the good, bad, and ugly of internet, and all that. The second thing happened is that we got introduced to Internet Society. So Internet Society is actually, ISOC in short, is the organization that is the developmental wing of building internet and for the people, right? And we got introduced with a person called Rajneesh Singh, who was the head of the Asia Pacific. And they reached out to us to find out, because they had heard about our good work, so we got introduced to. And till today, Internet Society Foundation and Internet Society is one of the strongest partner. Till date, APC is one of the strongest organization that we are member active. I gradually became not only member, but I was on the board for 6 years on APC, which happens by election, and WSA on the more doer side in terms of what is happening on the best practices.
Yeah.
So that is the reason, the reply to your question is that how come we got active globally and how come we became active locally and on the grassroots? Because you cannot do all three, no? So you do global advocacy, you are well connected globally, then you are also well connected nationally, and then you also do the grassroots work, is because of this situation. That it happened. We were very lucky that we got partnership, we got friendship with such organization, through which we really learned what is the global phenomena of internet, what is the global phenomena of digital, what is its national implications and relations, and then what actually takes the effort which can empower the grassroots level. And this is very, very telling that we were learning and we were deploying. And now I'll come to tell how 2007 we started CSC, we were involved. Then 2007 we got our first funding and we started Community Information Resource Center. But in 2009, I remember I went to meet Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia, who was the minister in Ministry of IT, and I requested him, would he come for the Manthan Award? And he said that, okay, I'll come on only one shart, ke you come to Chanderi, because his constituency was Guna, and apparently Chanderi falls in Ashoknagar and Ashoknagar falls in Guna constituency, or vice versa. So he asked that, can you come to Chanderi, and I want you to help me to see how digital can help Chanderi and the artisans of Chanderi. And I remember that I went to Chanderi and spent several days there. with a person whom Mr. Scindia had asked to take me, and that was a journey, one of the biggest project we launched that year, when the government of India, Ministry of IT, through Media Lab Asia, given us a project how to empower the artisans of Chanderi. And at that time they were 5,000 and their daily income was so low, it was pathetic. I think 3,500 or less at that time, their monthly income was that. And we were so ashamed of that one. And there, even the post office was not working. There was no internet connectivity. There was no proper way of reaching there. There was nothing that you can imagine. No ATMs there, no banking facility there, nothing. And then we wrote this proposal and Ministry of IT accepted Media Lab Asia, and they consecutively gave us two projects, one after the other, to help started. The project was only for 1 year, 1.5 years or 2 years, but we lasted there for 10 years.
You infiltrated Chanderi.
So you know what? The reason this also shows our resilience of Digital Empowerment Foundation, that when we go somewhere, we don't really leave the place. And that is when we made a policy that if you go somewhere, don't leave even if the project is over. So therefore, we always pressurized ourselves to create an ecosystem or a policy or a framework that even if there is no money, how the project can sustain on its own. So you build the model in such a way. And Chanderi, we are very proud because we digitized 40 to 50,000 designs of Chanderi. We documented each and every monument of Chanderi. We provided health services through e-health in local. We provided all the educational system through online. They gave us a mahal there, the whole castle. So we converted the whole castle as a museum and as a place to work and co-working space and staying space and display space and a shop space and a working space and everything with computer. And then gradually Internet ISOC came in and they gave us a funding in 2010 to try first community network in India. So we built Wi-Fi to give connectivity to the whole Chanderi.
Oh, the first CNX was Chanderi.
Yes, the first CN community network in India, if I'm not wrong, was established in Chanderi through the support of Internet Society, and DF established there. And that is when we learned what is community networks and how to do last mile Wi-Fi, what is 5.8 gigahertz and what is 2.4 gigahertz, which is actually a free spectrum, how to use them. This is all what we learned at that time. And then the story started off working with craft people and artisans in the country. And I'm sure in the next episodes, I can explain more and more such stories.
So I want to bring this episode to a close by asking you a question that may not have an answer, but it's a very relevant question to ask. This was the time, these 5 years was the time when people were realizing that content creation is now different from very tech-based content creation. So before this, all the content was being built in bytes and zeros. It was being built for softwares, for hardware and stuff. But this is when the social media boomed and people started coming online and realizing that they have the power to create content as well, which will then be consumed by other people across the world. And social media really took off. So when you were working with communities, you were working at the hyperlocal level, at the local level, and then at the global level, did you see that social media would become this big at that time? Did you think that it had the power? Because when Facebook was launched, it changed lives. But did you think that it would have the power to change lives in a way that it does today?
So to be very frank, I had not imagined social media to become so critically big to affect our life in a negative way. I always thought that social media is a great thing because it is connecting and giving open access to the people to create content. So everybody is a journalist, everybody is a content creator, everybody. So my positive mind was only thinking that, oh, so many good things will happen. Everything is good will happen. That is how it's something like starting a mall or a market, but suddenly you find that on the whole mall is of casinos and bars and all that. I'm not saying they're bad, but the whole mall cannot be like that. So it was that I never imagined. But having said that, I must say that by 2007, 8, 9, we had already started seeing that we are shifting to mobile.
Yeah.
We are shifting completely to mobile, and that's the reason. And I would end up my nostalgic memory that in 2010, that's the reason we launched M Billionth Award, which is the mobile M Billionth. Why did we name it M Billionth Award? Is because M for mobile, billionth means let the mobile reach all the billions of people.
Okay.
That's the reason. But the idea was that we already started realizing that all the application and nomination that we were getting in Manthan had started going towards mobile applications or mobile-based applications or mobile-based solutions or mobile. So app had already started buzzing us. And then we thought that maybe Manthan Award alone is not enough. We need another award which is only mobile specific. And that is when we started M Billionth Award in 2010. But guess what? M Billionth Award started in India with all South Asia and Asia focus, but its jury happened in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lankan government's and agency, ICTA, actually hosted the jury. And one of the supporters were Vodafone at that time in 2010. So it's very beautiful that so DF was also gradually adapting to best practices, which is the best, and where do we grab all the best practices, and what should we apply on the ground, and what should we were very strongly synthesizing that everything cannot be deployed online or either through mobile app or something, but what is appropriate to the community on the ground, and at the same time learning internationally that what is hot internationally, what is really a good advocacy tool to talk about. So our chain of learning and deploying was very much global, national, regional, and hyper-local.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this episode. It was very interesting. And in the next one, we can focus more on citizen-centric development that you were doing with Digital Empowerment Foundation. And thank you to everyone for joining us for episode 3 of Edge. If you want to follow the stories that Osama is narrating in this series, you can follow us on Instagram. We have a page called Museum of Digital Society. And you can also follow us with the page that's hyperlinked in the video. Thank you.